probably one of the biggest factors underlying this that we're seeing now is actually a lack of confidence. When we ask young adults, why are you delaying marriage? Why are you not dating? Oftentimes what they'll tell us, particularly when it comes to dating, is they'll say, I want to date. I want to have connection. I want to have a partner that I can emotionally connect with and have someone in my life that makes life fulfilling. But they oftentimes will then also come back and say, but I don't know how. I don't know where to find people. I lack confidence when it comes to approaching someone or starting a relationship. So I think there's a lack of confidence right now in dating skills specifically that really hinders people's confidence in approaching dating relationships. And then I think the other thing that goes hand in hand with that is fear. There's a lot of fear about marriage, about dating, about being rejected. And so those fears have always been there, but I think they're elevated in young adulthood right now. There's a lot more anxiety in modern young adults than there have been in previous generations. And so that fear, I think, feels more intense for them than it has in previous generations.
How much does social media play a role in that, in amplifying those fears?
Yeah, I think it has two major effects. One is, I think it can, like you said, amplify the fears, because what social media presents is this kind of perfect version of other people's lives. And so as I'm scrolling through my social media feed and I see all these people that are happy and in relationships and in their families, and I'm only getting the best version of what they're showing me. And even celebrity culture does the same thing, right? It shows me this fantasy version of what life can be like. I start to have this higher comparison stress where it feels like everyone else is happy. It feels like everyone else is going on vacation and traveling and having all the success in life. And even though I'm getting this very fake, oftentimes repetitive best version of people's lives, it's hard to compare myself to that. And so I think that elevates some of that fear. I think the other big thing that social media is doing actually goes back to confidence. And it has to do with how social media and other digital technologies have really changed what childhood and adolescence looks like now. We used to be able to, as parents, just assume that our kids are going to learn social skills when it comes to dating as they grow up. They kind of had to. They had to go out with friends, go outside, figure out how to deal with that bully on the on the playground. They had to negotiate dating in high school, all those fun things that we had to do. But now, because of smartphones, social media, video games, all of these digital technologies, we know that kids and young adults are spending less time together. They're spending less time outside. They're spending less time socializing. And what that all means is that they have less opportunity to learn social skills. And so by the time they get to young adulthood, they haven't had all those awkward teenage relationships where you figured out how to talk to someone and how to dump someone and how to pass a note to someone that you like them. They didn't have those experiences. The average high school senior has maybe 2 to 3 dates by the time they graduate, if that. And over half of them say they've never dated before by the time they graduate high school. And so they get to their 20s and they don't have confidence because they haven't had to perfect and use any of those skills.
And also another factor presents this illusion of there are so many options that why settle for one if someone better could come along? I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so we actually have a term for that. It's what's called a rejection mindset. And what that means is that many people go into dating now with a reject first mentality. And it usually is tied to, like you said, this assumption that because of social media, because of dating apps, that it feels like there's this infinite pool of potential partners for me. And so when I go into a dating situation or even a social situation where I'm talking to someone that I might have some romantic interest in, I immediately go in saying, prove it to me. And I'm looking for a reason to reject you, because why would I settle for anyone that's less than perfect if there's so many options out there? And so that's where a lot of people in the dating world that are engaging in dating tend to go on a lot of first and second dates. It doesn't go anywhere because they always find something in those first or second dates to reject someone on, because that's how they're approaching. They're not approaching a relationship saying, how can I make this work? And what are the good things about this person? And maybe I'll learn some weaknesses later on that I'll have to make decisions about. But we're very quick to reject people now.
Dating apps, do you think they are helping or hindering the dating world right now?
I think they do one little good thing, and then they do a lot of problematic things. The good thing the dating apps do is they do increase your dating pool. They do give you access to a lot of people, and it does help a little bit with screening in the sense that it's depending on the app and the platform that I'm using. I can usually get some basic background information about someone and their values and what they like. And so if I'm looking for a particular type of person in terms of their background and beliefs and hobbies, I can do some pretty quick filtering on a dating app. And so it can help with that specific part of the process, that kind of very early filtering and giving me access to a lot of people. Beyond that, it does create a lot of issues, and specifically back to what I was saying before, is oftentimes what people don't realize on most swipe-based dating apps, because that's how most platforms have gone, is to a swipe-based Tinder type of model, is it feels like there's so many people that I can swipe through, and there's so many options. But what I don't realize is that every time I'm swiping on someone and they don't match with me, I'm getting rejected. And so what dating apps actually do is they create, for most people, dozens, if not hundreds of times a week, I get little micro rejections. And even though I don't really think about it that way, psychologically, there's a lot of good research that suggests I'm internalizing that and getting lower in my confidence, lower in my self-esteem. And oftentimes then it's harder for me to put myself out there because I'm always wondering, hey, this one person matched or these 3 people matched, but I swiped on 24 other people. Why didn't they swipe back with me? Why didn't I match with them? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with my profile picture? What's wrong with how I'm talking about myself? And so it's raising the anxiety when you go into those interactions with other people. It also then creates a new barrier to dating because now I have to decide, how do I move my online relationship to offline? It's a little subtle thing, but for some people that's a little bit of a barrier. Is that awkward? How do we go from just chatting and DMing back and forth to actually meeting in person? So there's kind of one more step in the dating process.